So when you say go, we are going. Okay, we are going. So first, we'll welcome everyone to the Finance Committee meeting. This is Thursday, July 30th, 2020, 6:30 p.m. We started on time, and we started without all kinds of echoes. That's a first for us. So that's pretty good. The first item on the agenda is the approval of the July 23rd minutes. You all got copies of those. Thank you, Brian.
Yes, great job.
Is there a motion?
I'll make a motion, we approve the minute meetings of the, what was the date?
July 23rd.
July 23rd minute meetings.
Second.
Moved and second. Any discussion? Anything anybody want to add or detract?
No.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Brian, you're off. Are you aye?
Aye.
Okay. I need more than a nod because you're on the phone, so you're on your camera, computer, I mean. All right, that takes care of that one. Give a quick update on the subcommittee meeting. That was before I really get into that, I wanted to just quickly touch on the calendar. Just as a reminder, you all have copies of the calendar. Today is this 30th. There's 60 days between now and town meeting. We have 22 days before we have to have our public hearings on things that need to be noticed by Monday. So we'll talk about that later in the meeting. But just be aware of the calendar. It's coming at us. I just posted tonight the 2 meetings that we have next week, so it's incumbent on all of us to just keep continuing to keep up. Tom, you will be heard if you speak, Tom, so you have a mic. And you are in the long shot, so. We did have a subcommittee meeting. John and Angelo and I and Steve Ford from the Board of Selectmen and Don Howell. We discussed the pros and cons of revolving funds. We still have more work to do on that, but in general, we think the consensus is that there's probably going to be on those 2 articles concerning revolving funds. I won't go into too much detail until we have some. We really tripped over the discussion on the capital plan. Don was of the impression that we have year 1 of a 7-year plan, and I was under the impression that we have an entire 7-year plan. So that's going to be resolved by the Board of Selectmen hopefully Monday night. So we're kind of stuck on that one. We did talk about an article that I prepared, written up on the use of the stabilization fund, and they're going to try and decide whether that's in or out of the warrant Monday night as well. So the subcommittee is talking about a lot of topics, and we're getting suggestions from the board, and they're hopefully going to rule at their next meeting each time so that things kind of flow along and help support us to get to where we need to be. And I just wanted to go over that before we went any further. Any questions on the subcommittee? Angelo, you want to add anything?
Your discussion was
John?
great, right?
No, I'm fine, thanks, Dana.
Okay. Anybody have a question on that? Brian?
No.
All set? Anybody?
Well, when's our next meeting planned for?
We haven't set that yet. I'm tasked with that, and it's not set yet. I just got started. Okay, we're going to talk about budgets first, and then we're going to vote some articles in the warrant second, I hope. Just a quick kind of thing on budgets. We have 5 operating budgets that we have to vote at some point. I'm reasonably certain that the only one we could even come close to voting would be the tech school. I don't think there's going to be any more changes in that number. I'm also going to talk a little bit about, when we get to it, the budget for the sewer fund, which is now at 350, but I don't think all 350 is needed, but we're going to talk about that some, and the funding source of that. Right now, it's at least proposed by Carol to be available funds, right? Free cash?
A portion of it, yes.
Yeah, okay. So we're gonna talk about that one as well. But two of the budgets, the two school budgets are raised and appropriate, except for the Monomoy School System's capital portion, which we do with free cash. So those are raised and appropriate numbers. The water fund, have we got the water numbers yet, Carol?
We have their preliminary budget, yes, we do.
Okay. So that's maybe something we can discuss as well, and they come from enterprise funds. It's the town budget that really is the big one, and that is that we have everything mixed in ours. We have all the special little funds and betterments and everything goes into that pot to come up with our total. And right now, one of those funding sources is short. And I'm certainly sure that we're not ready to vote that one yet. But I just wondered if anybody had questions on where we were with the budgets or what's going on. We're gonna talk about each one as an article in a few minutes, but in general, anything on budgets that anyone would want to bring up?
I have a question on, and I forgot the piece of paper at home, so it's from memory, Carol. On the sewer enterprise fund, I see a number in the big blue book of $350,000 for it. But I also saw a number on some type of budget recap sheet that for the 1/12 budget, but this said sewer.
I know, but the monthly spending plans have nothing to do with your proposed budget that's gonna be moving forward. They really don't.
They don't.
They're very prescribed matters in which you had to calculate them. You had to calculate them based on FY '20's budget. And then there were certain other parameters that didn't apply to sewer, but then you divided it by 12.
Right, but I saw $42,000.
Again, it really doesn't have anything to do with the proposed budget. We're talking about like apples and oranges.
Okay,
So probably we'll get to that discussion in the article. That might help out when we get to that point.
okay. Because I just did 12 times 42 and came up with more than 350,000, that's all.
Good job.
Good job, okay.
That will land you on the finance committee.
And do we have actuals for last year? Because we appropriated 250 for them last year, right?
So we're finalizing FY '20 now.
All the actuals for 2020, okay. Because I had a question on that, too, okay. Thank you.
Is that all you had?
Yep, that's it.
All right. Anything else on the budgets, or just in general? Okay, I did prepare a one-liner sheet, and I got it caught up to date from what is proposed. I have found one mistake in it as I was going through it. We'll get to that. It's at Article 25 and 26, but we'll get to that. On what I sent out to you, it's not a biggie. But we're in a situation right now where the warrant, we have to be done with whatever we're doing by August 21st. And then it's gonna go to administration for a week, and then it's gonna go to the printers for 2 weeks, and then it's gonna be out to the public for 2 weeks, and then it's gonna be town meeting. So, this being July 30th, we don't have a lot of time. We don't have a warrant yet. We have a draft warrant. We all know selectmen still have some work to do. There'll probably be some articles added. There may be some articles subtracted. So the worst danger we face if we were to vote some of these, it might get yanked later. But as I've said before, that's happened to us even with the non-COVID year. Voted an article, then later it was either changed substantially, like last year, having to do with the capital plan, from 5 years to 7 years. We voted 5, and then later it was done as 7. Or some about that just take it from the warrant. They might take it from the warrant. So we might vote something tonight that eventually gets yanked. But there's a lot of articles we know will be there. We know the petition articles will be there. We know that the customary articles will be there. The budget articles, I'm pretty sure the CPC articles will be there. I think what's staring at us in terms of 45 articles is a fairly close kind of number. So I would at least like to try to vote some of them, because in addition to voting them, we also have to have a written reason for each of our votes. We can't just vote it and say, okay, that was good. It was 5-2 or 3-7 or whatever it was. We also have to have a reason. And I know in the last couple of years, I've written the reasons and I brought them back to the board as a draft and you've approved them. But I'm also going to do this year to try writing a couple yourself. I'm going to do it again this year, just because we're so crunched for time. I'll put together the same way that we've been doing it. But someone's going to have to learn how to do these other than me. And it would be a good exercise
John,
if you look at a few from last year or the year before, and then get to try writing something similar or different on how we vote tonight and in future nights on the warrant. I will ask you each to do it 1 or 2 or 3 as an assignment to try and get people up to speed on that. It used to be years ago that we would vote the article and then as a group discuss the reasons and come up with the reasons right then and there. Someone would propose a reason and that would be the main kind of reason that we would work around right then and there. So we'll talk about that more tonight. But I'm proposing tonight, unless anyone has an objection, that we just start going through the warrant and see what we can or cannot vote. See what we have for questions, see who we'd have to bring in, so that I can start lining those up. All right? Does that seem like a way to proceed?
Yes, it does.
Yes.
All right, so we all know that Article 1 is choose the town officers and committees
Would you have a copy, an extra copy, did anybody chance, or?
of the
The
one-liners.
warrants, yeah.
if you have another extra copy, I'd like it also.
I know I don't have 2. I have the actual warrant,
Okay.
and I have 1 copy of this. Is it something that, would we be able to make a copy of, it's a good thing we have help.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I put on my Bruins mask here, and it's 2 pages. I know we don't do color.
I'll need a copy too.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think so, yeah.
See, I'm the only one going through paper here.
I tried to get it.
No, it's okay.
Well, finding a warrant was tough.
Yeah,
Huh?
things
I
have been.
found the warrant, but
things,
I
yeah.
couldn't, I can't print out
It's the
40
last-
pages.
I can't do that either.
My
Yeah,
computer
it's,
will-
what was the total I came up with? It's a number of pages, that's for sure.
Yeah. And then I didn't even know if that was the official,
Actually,
Warrant.
it stopped printing at Article 40, it didn't go on.
Yes, mine did as
beyond
well,
that.
yeah.
And that's 27 pages, so.
Perhaps you
Yep.
can ask the Carol to get that printed for our next meeting.
They're gonna have a whole new draft, I believe, in this
I'm saying
week.
the new one.
weeks. Yeah, it's gonna continuously
Physically
update, yeah.
And give it to us.
What I'm gonna ask them to do what I did this last year, when I was getting ready to write the reasons, is to ask for the warrant in Word copy, so that then I have something that I can print instead of just as part of a giant packet. It can be done in Word, so that, we could do it that way, and it's easier to get to everybody. I can send it to you, and you can have it on your computer, which you're using to have your camera on, so. We all need 2 laptops, 3 phones.
Yeah.
Mark's the only one with 7 laptops and 6 phones, so.
If you send it to us, we can have it on the computer so we can use it that way, but if we have it printed here and
Yeah.
brought to the next
I
meeting,
understood.
it works a heck of a lot better.
Just getting us to be in this room is,
I appreciate that, Dana. Thank you, Carol.
thank you, Carol. Oh, see, she's efficient with the paper. She did it one side, back side. Did you keep a copy for yourself?
I did.
Okay.
Cost effective, good, good.
She did it. All right, very good. So, as you can see on there that, I have a column there for our vote. We always record our votes. We will continue to do that. That gets printed in the warrant as well.
Just a question. Last year on the town meeting, there was an article for names to be associated with votes. How did that turn out? Do you remember how that turned out by any chance?
I don't think it passed.
I believe it didn't.
No.
I was just curious, okay.
Yeah, I don't think it
Passed, okay.
All of our votes are on tape now,
Yeah.
and they're
It
out
was
there.
actually printed in the warrant, who voted for what.
Yeah.
Okay.
If we could just get totals from the selectmen, I think several of the town meeting goers would
Okay.
appreciate that, but that's up to them. So the first article is a customary article. It's there every year, and it's to choose the various town offices and committees. If someone would like to make a motion on that one.
I'll make a motion, we accept that.
I'll second.
I'm gonna track that as well. Discussion on that motion, we have a motion to accept the article, accept and adopt, support it. And fortunately for customary articles, we do have language that we put with every customary article, and it seems to work here. We will do the same thing this year. Any other discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Aye. And Brian's aye, yep, very good. That was 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 to 1, 7 to 0. And one's missing. Okay, report of town officers and committees. That's just where we give our reports. It's another customary article.
I make a motion, we accept article reports on town officers and commissions.
Second that motion?
Discussion on that one? John, you giving the report this year? He backed out of that one real quick. Yeah, this year should be easy enough. Okay, all those in favor say aye. Aye. Elected salaries we have salaries for elected officials. That's Article number 3. Again, it's a customary one. It's required by the charter that they be spelled out separately. There's no money in this article. The money is actually in the budget. It just sets the rate. And there is a table. It's for selectmen, 5, $2,400 each. Moderator, 1, $1,000. Water commissioners, 3, $1,000 each. Library trustees, $7,000 each. And the town clerk, $103,503. And the total is $126,503. Is there a motion to support that or not?
I make a motion.
So moved.
Brian? He's got a delay, so I had to put him in there. Is there a second?
Second. Hit the button.
Discussion.
Aren't we gonna give the selectmen a chance to cut their salaries?
Okay, so that brings up a very good point. On any of these, we can change our mind, we can revisit them. A lot of these, we won't be able to vote tonight. We're gonna go through them and see how far we get. And, you know, we're not carving any of these in stone. New information can come in the night out at 6 o'clock before the town, or in our case now, 9 o'clock, whenever we start meeting. And where we start meeting, before the town meeting, we take votes. So these are all subject to change and could change. This is the best information we have. I don't see too many changes in this. You know, if this, with all the work they're doing, you could discuss whether or not the selectmen should get a bump on this year. I mean, it's tough to run these meetings, and we're asking them to do a lot right now. And they were going 2 and 3 meetings a week at one point during the real crunch of things. So, you know, there could be a lot of discussion on this, and I look forward to talking with them about it. But This is for us tonight. We're taking our positions for now. Further discussion.
This has been the same for like the last 2 years, maybe, at least 2 years now. No raises, so I think we're still good. I think it's a good number, and nobody's exorbitant for what they're doing. For their stipends, they're not really salaries, they're stipends, so, it's not a big deal.
Yeah, for the part-time elected officials, we went to great lengths. They went from 1989 until this changed 2 or 3 years ago with the same salary, so.
I know.
Decades. And we've all served under those salaries, yes. I was in office when we got rid of when I became chairman, I got rid of the $500 stipend for the chairman. I said that wasn't necessary, so I know how far back all these go. But no, I think we're in a good spot now, and I don't see anything need to change right at the moment. Anyone else? Okay, all those in favor of the motion, say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? No opposed, 7-0. Okay, the town operating budget, we're gonna hold that one. I don't think we're ready yet to vote that. I think that would come sometime after a joint meeting with the Board of Selectmen, but there's too many moving parts in that. The Monomoy School System, we're going to have a joint meeting with the entire Board of Selectmen, the entire Finance Committee, entire Board of Selectmen, meeting with the entire school committee and the superintendent and the town administrator and Carol and everybody else who would like to be there. If we can find a room big enough. We're supposed to have a joint meeting for discussing their budget, and they are proposing some changes to the budget that should come. Have we got any more details at all, Carol, or on the school's proposed?
They're scheduled to revote their budget on August 6th.
Yeah, we're meeting that night as well, so while we're meeting, they'll be discussing it. So we'll kind of hold that one.
Dana,
Yes.
if it is gonna be with the school, would it be possible for us to say, use the gym or something, use some huge room so we can have social distancing?
I'm sure
It's their
they'll-
budget, maybe they should accommodate us that we could spread out in the cafeteria or just a suggestion,
If
but,
there's gonna be us and them and that many people in one meeting, it's either all gonna be remotely or we're gonna have to have a big
a
room.
big room might be, but they
Then
do
you
have
get
a
into-
gym, they
then
do
you
have a
get into-
cafeteria.
Participate with go-to, so you can be here, but everyone else
Will be go-to? Okay.
Yeah,
just like Brian is at home.
right. So
Okay.
we can do something like that. There can be,
Them, and they can see you, and everybody can hear each other.
yeah, if we have to do another set of desks and stuff and
Okay.
the problem becomes microphones and all of the
We're at the
things.
max capacity
Yeah.
in this room right now,
Yeah,
according to measures.
unless we vote your articles later. I think that was a plug. So yes, that would
Okay,
come.
just-
So they're on
just a thought.
hold. The tech budget, I have it at 1,737,789. That is the correct number now. They have 12 towns involved. Some of them have already had their town meetings. I don't see them making any changes at all in their budget. And I think that's a safe number for us. Carol?
So they did drop their budget. They reduced their budget back in, I believe it was the end of June. School committee voted on that reduction, and so this budget is representative of that reduction as well.
Right, and that's the correct number.
Yes.
All right, so I don't see any reason why we can't vote this one. But unless somebody makes a motion.
And our number went down dramatically, right, Carol? I mean,
Correct.
Yeah, overall, this has been, I remember when the Monomoy was talking about the school budgets, they said, well, public education in town has gone way down. But theirs went up and this one went way down. So,
Is this lower now than last year or higher?
Lower,
It's lower.
yes.
yeah,
I think there's 15 less students?
It's almost $600,000 lower.
Yeah,
I think that's an important fact.
yes.
Yeah, I'd like to make a motion that we accept and adopt it.
I'll second.
Tom and discussion on that one.
No.
All those, yeah,
If I may,
Tom,
the
yeah.
only thing, especially now, because And this has been a new number they just revised. And with all the online teaching and all the extra stuff they had to do, and they actually lowered their number, this is a step in the right direction. So kudos to them, and I'm in favor.
All right, further discussion? Hearing none, I'll put the matter to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
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 We are 7 and unopposed. Opposed? Nobody is opposed. Okay. So that brings us to the Water Department budget. In the draft warrant, Carol, they have $4,291,075. Is that the correct current number?
Current number, I don't know if it's going to change.
Okay. But if they change it, we would be notified later, and we could change it then. I don't, where this is enterprise funds and it states out, I'll read the chart if we want to take a position on this, but I don't see any reason why we can't vote this. Anyone?
Yeah, I see no reason not to vote for it. I mean, like you said, we can always revisit it, and,
If new information comes beyond this, we're gonna vote any budget that way.
Right.
I mean, right?
yeah.
I mean, it doesn't have the same number of moving parts, I don't think, that our budget has, the general government budget.
And is
And
it-
Monomoy, we already know is going to come back at us, so,
And this is cut and dry as far as, you know, salaries, and
Yeah,
they know
I'll-
their expenses, they know what they have, so
If
I'll
we-
make a motion that we accept and adopt Article 7.
okay, this is Article 7 Water Department budget, and this is Tom. Is there a second?
Second?
Second.
Second.
3 seconds.
It's,
Okay,
Carol,
let me just read. The salaries is projected at $1,321,050. The expenses are $1,468,390. Debt, $721,345. Indirect costs, $730,290. OPEB, and I don't know if they're gonna change their mind on this one later, but OPEB they have at 50,000 for a total of $4,291,075. That's the number we're voting, and that's to come from enterprise funds.
Well, that's to come
And-
from their enterprise fund.
right, water.
So they're covering.
And
their
that indirect cost
Exactly.
goes to the town,
Which
right?
everybody should know.
That number there, the indirect cost, $732.90, goes from the water enterprise fund to the town to fund their indirect costs with us, the town administrator, Carol, and the treasurer, and all the people that assist them. Discussion on the motion. John has a question.
I just wanted to see what they were proposed, so it's the same number as it was in the big blue book, okay?
Yes.
That makes, okay. I'm fine.
Any other thing, discussion?
No.
We'll put it to a vote. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's 7-0 for this.
This one's you, John.
This one, we have a chart that says salaries 77, 285, we have expenses 298, 376, 100. But is that, where are we with that? Is that the current number, or is that,
That is the current number.
and that is needed to fund,
It is estimated that the sewers will start flowing in October, which requires the town to adhere to a O&M agreement that they have with the town of Chatham for maintenance and operations of the system. In addition to that, this is moving some of the salaries from water department over to sewer department because the water director, I'm sorry, his title is eluding me.
Superintendent.
water
Spends
superintendent.
about 50% of his time working on sewer and wastewater initiatives here. So we were moving that 50%. We are not charging in the first year any benefits like health insurance. We're just trying to take steps to get there.
And does the water sewer operation, does the sewer side of things generate any revenue yet, or any hookup costs going into a pool of money or anything like that?
Not yet, but they will. They certainly
This
will,
year?
once the notifications go out.
Yeah.
Okay, so some revenue will come in that would be able to help us next year, but
Yes,
there's nothing certified for this year. Nothing came in last year.
correct.
Okay, so we would have, I guess the only real discussion I would have on this, whether we voted or not, is the funding source. Right now, Carol has it at,
Free cash.
free cash. I would take it from the stabilization fund. If you remember, going back, the town administrator started ramping up this budget using town money to try and get it to a point where we could sustain it. To pull the rug out from underneath that and then to put it to free cash, I think, because of the jam we're in, works. But I think the better way to go is to say, okay, we have a problem. This is one area our savings could help us. No money's coming in yet. Everything's going out. We don't want to go back to the taxpayers or the ratepayers or anybody else for this right now. Let's use a little of our savings this year and get through that way. But that was my recommendation. That's the way I would do it. So if you want to make a motion on this, I would ask you to include your own funding source. Where would you take the money from? That's to me, the only question on this.
Through you to Carol, please. If we said, let's take this out of a different revenue source, can we actually vote on this? Or do we have to rewrite this to say where we're gonna fund it from before we actually vote on it?
No, that would be transfer from available funds. That would be within that realm, correct? The wording of the article?
So I think that you probably would have to reword the article because 250,000 of the total sewer budget was just proposed or to come from free cash. 100 of it was to be raised in taxes. And then the remaining balance was to come from available funds from sewer, because they do have available funds. But I think you might have to reword the article if it's gonna be coming from a different revenue source such as stabilization. I'm not 100% sure.
Okay, so that might mean we have a legal question.
So my point would be that we can't vote on this article the way it's written, so maybe we should just table this article?
Yeah, I think that's a good idea. But at least you've heard my question on it as to how we fund it, to me, is
Funding is the biggest
is the
question.
biggest
yeah.
part. So we're gonna hold that one,
Can I
That's
ask a
fine.
question?
Yep.
What about the water?
always.
What about the water department? Do they have any extra cash that can be used? Because when you put them together.
Do they have, I'm sorry, what?
Does the water department have additional cash that they can use to cover this? Because it's going to be a water department, wastewater department, and as you said, the director is gonna be it for both of them, so you'd be cutting his salary, so it seems to me to be a logical thing to start using that money.
So the water department has retained earnings that obviously this would go through the commissioners.
Yeah,
to-
but that would have to go.
Absolutely, would have to go back to the
But
commissioners.
I think it makes sense, because they are, apparently, they're gonna end up being commissioners for this also.
I think that Angelo is correct, and I think that that's another reason to wait until we visit with the Board of Selectmen, because that's certainly a policy issue. They would be the ones that would formally ask the commissioners to reconsider that, how their funding source is. It's like, when we talked about the capital plan, the two selectmen were very adamant that those rules are in place now. We're in a unique position where normally we have our vote after town meeting on articles like that. We had this one before, so that, the new commission is formed, correct? We don't have all 5 members yet, and we don't have all the things. Was there,
Wastewater Commission, is that what,
Right.
yes, that's
but
correct.
that passed.
Yes.
I like the way, what you presented, and I would vote for that, but I just think it's more
Yeah.
logical.
Okay. So
No,
that
but-
one's on hold.
Yes, again, it's, the way it's written,
Yeah.
you know, you have a valid point, very valid point, and, you know, if, again, it's all about the funding. If we could draw it from some other source instead of taxpayers, that would be wonderful, and that's what we're here for, so I agree
right.
with you.
So that one's on hold.
I think, to Angelo, I think, Carol, correct me, or, I think that they have a reserve fund, like, over $500,000.
Pardon me?
They have a reserve fund within the water department.
They have retained earnings.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's close to over 500,000.
I don't know off the top of my
Yeah.
head what that
No.
number is.
Yeah.
But now, they would still need if an emergency came up, they
Sure.
would still need
Yeah.
town meeting to approve a use of that, wouldn't they not?
Correct.
Yeah, okay.
That's a good thought, Angelo.
It's on hold.
Yeah.
We'll move on to Article 9, adopt the capital plan. And,
What's the capital plan?
Yes, as soon as we get one, we'll vote on it.
well, I at least want to just make sure that we're all clear where we are between the different agencies and us. The Capital Outlay Committee is not taking any further action lately. We haven't heard from them. I don't know what their plan is or how they're doing. Last week, I handed out a document that kind of took last year's plan that we voted at town meeting and got rid of the items that the new language gets rid of. We talked about at the subcommittee level. At that point, the whole thing fell apart, and that's where a discussion between whether we have a 1-year plan right now or a 7-year plan right now came up. I've since that meeting, gone through and read both versions of the document, the charter, the old charter and the new charter, and the language that says that the Board of Selectmen shall submit a 7-year plan to town meeting is in both parts. 9-6-5 in the old one, 9-6-4 in the new one. It's in both parts. The selectmen will present a 7-year capital plan. I don't know what it will resemble, but at some point, this body's got to go forward with a plan. Whether it comes from the Capital Outlay Committee, whether it comes from the town administrator, whether it comes from the Board of the Selectmen, whether it comes from us ourselves, we have to move forward, and we have to have a public. And so I, at least, until we take a vote and take a position on something, I'm advocating that we have a plan, we adopt the new language to it, and we have a plan. But until we get there, we're ready to vote this tonight.
Right.
We have to meet some more on it, but I just want, if anybody's got any other suggestion or ideas, even if you don't have them tonight, if you want to email me or talk to me separately, I'm game on any of this, but it's gonna come to a head.
But you also have to consider the plan that everybody has voted in town meeting for the last 5 years that's sitting out there. It may need to be
Fixed,
fixed,
but it's there.
but it's there, and if we make it up ourselves, or the Board of
The things under $50,000, which is what it says we should do. I took out the lease, because that's not a major project anymore, that's a budgetary question. I took out the electric vehicles, because they were each under 1,000. And I clocked the numbers back to what town meeting voted last year. So,
I think that's excellent.
as far as I'm concerned, that's what the new language says where we are. But I don't know if anyone outside of this room agrees with that. It's future discussion anyways. So that's where we are with that. We don't have a plan, and there's certainly going to be discussion on whether or not, we have capital less than 50,000. That used to be from that list, but as far as I'm concerned, that list doesn't exist anymore. So whether or not any of these come up, I think that one's on hold as well. Next-
Where would those expenditures come from then? If you remove them from the capital plan, do they come out of the department operational budget?
No, in the past, we used to have an article that would fund those from free cash.
Like the next one coming
yeah.
up is free cash?
Yeah, they used to,
I mean,
they used
articles
to, they
Okay,
used to all be separate articles years ago, back when we had 110 articles in the warrant each year or,
Okay.
or something like that. But now they've consolidated them all into one article, which makes it easier and lists them in a chart. So, I don't have a problem with that. It's tasers in this case and air packs for the fire department. Whether or not we continue with those or not, I'm not sure, but.
but if they're all lumped together into one article under 50K, there's a chance that they could get defeated. All of them could get defeated instead of just
Right.
one or two of them getting defeated, yeah.
Right.
But I do see
Depends.
other articles here that are under 50,000 that are still listed as separate articles.
Yeah. Well, yes, that can happen. They're not in the capital plan. We can have any number of articles that you want.
Yeah. Oh, I see, okay, I'm sorry.
All right.
Yeah.
So the adoption of the
Yep,
capital
okay,
plan's
sorry
on
about- yep,
hold.
yep,
Article
okay.
10's on hold. The facilities repairs, I think I'm okay on, because there's nothing for highway there. At some point, I'll have to leave for highway stuff, but I don't know if, there is a DPW section of that, so I think I'll step down on this one, and John, let you take this one and discuss it and see.
Do we have a list of the repairs in there, though?
Yeah,
Okay.
I'll be outside if you need me.
Okay, jeepers. Well, the warrant Article 11, Fund Facilities Maintenance Repairs. In the warrant, it's listing about 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, about 7 or 8 articles with individual numbers associated with them. I think it might be best if we hold this one also, just because, I can read all 8 items here, but each one has a discussion associated with them, and you don't know what those articles are, and I think we should have the department heads come in here, like the first 3, well, I guess that's being funded by a grant,
Right,
the Arboretum.
so that's non-existent at that point.
Yeah. Yeah, I think we should hold this and discuss it at a further date. 'Cause
But,
it-
well, John, if I may.
Yeah.
Okay, you have a library roof, which is, yes, for, the cemeteries are out of the question because they're funded by a grant, so there's no cost to the town.
Correct.
So we're good to go.
Do we have the grant, though?
Well, that would have to be, we need the cemetery department to make sure we have the grant.
Okay.
The library roof, I mean, after all the work we did in the library, it'd be not nice if it started leaking and all that work got ruined. So that's viable. The cultural center, I'd like to have Carol here to just see what's going on with there, what they need the 100,000 for. So it would be nice if we could meet, you're right, I think,
Yeah.
at this point, to meet with the department heads. If they need new scales at the transfer station, because of all the, it does get a lot of use, so But, you know, I think you're right in the respect that we could put this one on hold
Yeah,
and talk to some department heads and see what exactly they need the money for, because it's just, you know, a figure, and there's nothing what they're spending it on.
yeah, it's in, like, the cultural study, that's the first time I've seen that.
So I think that word should say, instead of study, it should say subsidy.
Okay.
Oh,
That's-
see, that makes a
yes.
big difference,
I know.
Carol.
I was wondering what she was studying.
Yeah.
I think we're sending her to college. I
Okay,
don't
I think it should say that, yes.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we should table that, because that particular one, too, is tied, could come up as a revolving fund discussion, too, that's the cultural center, so.
Yes, it may. Okay.
Can I add a
Sure,
discussion to
Angelo,
that? Excuse me. If indeed, and I think the number stood, so our taxes, put everything out as they are right now, would be higher than last year's. Did you say $1 million higher, or 2 million before?
Based on the latest proposed budget, well, I mean, it's, right, okay, yeah, I guess, yes, you're right, given if, as it sits right now.
Okay.
Yes.
And if somebody says, you know, it'd be nice if we could get down to a same level as last year,
Yes,
the things we start cutting out things from here. And one of the things I think we'd have to consider is the cultural center. Because if we just waited for another year to do something there, is that a problem? Not really. We're not taking money away from kids, we're not taking them,
correct.
so I think we have to find out what that number is supposed to be.
Again, Angelo, if I may, part of the discussion, yes, is what does she need the $100,000 for? Because, again, if they're renting rooms, doing different things, why are we not becoming self-sufficient at this point?
Well,
You know,
they know
if
that
maybe the
it's
rents have to
charging
go up, or,
Yeah, but it's even more than that. I
And-
think some.
yeah, that's, you know, I don't want to get into a big can of worms, I'm just saying,
Okay, I'm sorry.
you know, maybe we need to up some of the rentals and, you know, make it more self-funding like the golf site, make it like that.
I think there is a total of $300,000 proposed for the cultural center that we could save to take out of the 2 million. That's just an opinion.
So I think we should, if everybody's in agreement, we'll hold this article, number 11, for further discussion with each of the stakeholders, I guess is the appropriate.
We have no motion, we can't vote on it,
Yeah,
John.
so-
So we're good.
So we'll move on to Article
Article
12.
12.
Fund a new ambulance. Yeah, yeah. We're going to hold that article.
Fund new ambulance and the Quint, my suggestion on those is that we wait for bids. That's generally what we've done in the past, but rather than vote a number, we've seen what happens when we vote a number and then the bids come in higher or lower, whatever, so I'm gonna recommend that,
Yeah, agreed. They're both estimated costs, we don't know what the real cost is.
I just got one question on that,
Sure.
Peter. On the article, it says 1.1 million, but on the capital plan, I have 1 million. What's the true number?
it depends on where we are. That's exactly what we're talking about in terms of the capital plan is, last year we voted a capital plan that had $1 million there.
Okay,
This year's proposed capital plan had $1.1 million
Okay.
in there. So I clocked it, like I said, clocked them all back to what was voted by town
Town meeting.
meeting.
okay,
So far, they know about the 1 million.
okay. I was just wondering what, if something, because I had always heard 1.1 million,
Okay.
and I was surprised, okay.
Lease purchase agreements. See if the town will vote to enter into various leases. It's just, this is starting to become a regular appearance. It just allows the Board of Selectmen to enter into leases. It's an authorization for the board. And it's fairly standard and traditional.
Okay. I make a motion that we approve Article 15.
I'll second.
Discussion?
I would rather see this come up depending on what they're taking a lease on.
I know, but they have to have authorization to even get into them.
I know,
Yeah.
get into the
Yeah.
legalese, but
I
it's
mean, if
just,
they need money later, they have to ask for that. If they need leases over certain terms, they need permission for
yeah,
that.
I'm just a little
This
bit
is a
uncomfortable
general-
because this is too general, for me. The wording is just too general. I'd like to say something a little bit tighter, but that's just my opinion.
Yeah. I think this is a standard one they've used from town council for a couple of years. But
We do lease things at the golf course.
We do, but I don't want to give them carte blanche either. I want to see something.
And we can certainly bring that up with them. Further discussion? The motion is to accept and adopt. All those in favor say aye. Aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Opposed, so it's 6-1. You're saying 15 is probably gonna come out of here, right?
Correct.
15's not going to probably appear in the warrant.
And now we get rid of you again.
So we don't have to vote that one unless it hangs around longer than we thought. I'm gonna step down on the next two. So, John, they're all yours.
Verbiage for that?
Yep, there's the sheet.
Gosh.
And
What's this
maybe
one for?
even, cemetery's under us too.
Oh,
so
700,000.
The next three, John.
Oh.
Cemetery as well. Let me give you that sheet of paper as well.
Article 16, for the record, Dana, Costa has left the room for discussion on this article. Next three articles, actually, concerns with the DPW. Is to purchase new equipment for the vehicles for the DPW. It's Article 16. It's to purchase two vehicles. One is a Ford E350 van highway. Second one is a catch basin cleaner for the highway. Explanation is a 2006 E250 building maintenance van. Floors and body and panels are rusted through. It's questionable whether it will pass safety inspection. The catch basin cleaner is a 2000 International catch basin cleaner at the end of its useful life. The cab on this vehicle is rotted through. Parts are becoming obsolete and very hard to find. Maintaining the town catch base is a core function of the DPW. Two-year FY18 maintenance for this vehicle averaged $20,000 a year. So I guess that's a savings we don't have to buy, that we'll achieve by buying a new vehicle. Reading the article, knowing how well Link and his maintenance crew take care of vehicles up there. They do a tremendous job up there of maintenance. I mean, our maintenance department there is second to none. And if they can't keep these two vehicles running that they have and want a new vehicle, I fully support approving this article.
I second.
Okay. Any discussion?
John, what's the source of funds for that?
What is the source of, that's a good question.
Is it borrowed money?
There is no,
There's no-
Carol, the funding
I
source?
believe it's free cash.
Free cash?
Free cash?
Okay.
I guess, you know, the discussion we had earlier too, this could be open for discussion, whether it comes out of the stabilization fund or free cash, but we do have a chance at re-voting this if you decide to take it out of stabilization fund. So, Brian, do you have anything, or?
I don't.
Okay.
I'm comfortable with it.
Okay.
If I may, John?
Sure.
If you can do your motion to state that at this point, the money will come out of free cash.
Sure.
And then this way, if there's a
Yeah.
difference, then we have room to discussion.
Sure. I'd like to restate my motion that, it's an article to fund 2 vehicles for a total of $250,000, which will be funded out of free cash. And we had a second from Angelo on that?
Yes.
Okay, we'll take a vote. All in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? It passes 7-0 for the new vehicles.
6-0. Dana's
Six.
out.
Six.
Oh, excuse me, that's right, sorry, 6-0, sorry. Fund the road maintenance program. You're gonna have to help me a little bit, Carol, on this. I believe this is an annual thing that we do vote on. It's just for road maintenance projects as deemed necessary by the highway superintendent. And my thought too, that if we approve this, approve it at town meeting, we get a matching 700,000 from the state on this, Carol?
So there are Chapter 90 funds that come into the town every year.
Right.
And it's just about $700,000 a year that come into the town.
Right.
This would be a debt exclusion for $700,000 for the road maintenance.
But we do get a matching 700.
It's not really a matching, it just comes into the town.
An additional 700,000.
Correct.
Right, because I think this lost last year at town floor, is that correct? It was
That-
defeated?
That's correct.
And I think there was maybe a misunderstanding of the missing out on that $700,000 that Link didn't have. So that's the story there. It's for road maintenance, for Link and his group up there to do maintenance on the town roads.
John?
And by approving this, we get an additional 700,000 through Chapter 90 funds.
Just to clarify, the $700,000, that's Chapter 90 money, and that entire amount from the state is
So
the
that is the money from the
$700,000
state.
that we're talking about.
That's the $700,000 in Chapter 90 funds is the funding from the state.
Okay,
That's what gets distributed.
okay, so that, there's no town money per se in there.
There is 700, so the total appropriation would really, the total appropriation here out of your capital project fund is gonna be the 700,000. The Chapter 90 is captured all within a special revenue fund. It's called Chapter 90. It's required to be segregated from any other expenditure.
So
Well, we have
in essence, we have a $1.4 million.
Correct.
make-
That is
okay,
absolutely
that's what
correct.
That's what I wanted to clarify.
So that's the item in the capital plan, correct, the 1.4 million? You have a 1.4 million five-year road maintenance plan, so it's 707 for each, correct? 700 and 700?
That is correct.
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
Yeah. That's exactly correct, Brian. It's under the 5-year maintenance program, right?
Yeah, thank you.
Okay. Okay, any further discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving the road maintenance program at $700,000, which is a debt exclusion, funding source? All in favor?
Aye.
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 All opposed? It passes 6-0 again. Fund, Article 18, it's a fund memorial tree replacement. To see if the town will vote to raise and appropriate the sum of $20,000 for the memorial tree replacement, a program to plant at any of the town-owned cemeteries, which I believe are 9, and to act fully thereon by the request of the commission. And the cost is $20,000. The article, the explanation, this article will be funded from the portion of the perpetual care fund, approximately $20,000 by town meeting. There was a loss of over 400 trees within the cemeteries, with the largest losses being 200 at Island Pond, 75 at Mount Pleasant, 24 at Evergreen, and the July 23rd, 2019 tornado. The replanting of these trees locations, the town cemetery is necessary to properly maintain our cemeteries. Do I have a motion to approve or to vote on this article?
I move it.
Okay,
I'll second it.
and Angelo seconded it. Any discussion? I think this is, for me, it might be a pretty straightforward thing. We could have Robin come in, but I know she lost a lot of trees at a lot of cemeteries. And if I know Robin, she'll do her best to try to get nurseries to help donate things, stuff too, so, okay. Any further?
It's the expendable portion of the trust fund.
So it really doesn't affect the taxpayers at all?
That is
really?
correct.
Okay. All in favor?
Aye.
All is opposed? Passes 6-0. And we need Mr. Dana back in.
I would suggest we all be very careful about speaking about the next two, as we're standing in front of.
No. Our mics will get cut off, Angelo, is that what you're saying?
It's dangerous.
That could be a good thing.
So that puts us up to
19.
19.
Yep.
This is,
The three
this room
previous
right
articles, the three previous articles, Dana, for your information, all passed 6-0.
okay. As debt and as recommended, basically?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay. Fund the control room server, number 19. That article is for here. And it's to help upgrade this room in terms of,
That's next article.
oh, what's this one? Oh, this is at the other building,
Community center playback.
Community Center playback.
This has a new estimated cost, if you'd like that.
And what is the new estimated cost?
58985.
58985, and that is coming from
The cable fund.
cable fund,
And that
which
new
is the quarter penny from our cable bills that everybody who has cable pays. Is it still a quarter penny?
No, it's like $3.
Weeks.
No, but it was, I forget what the original language was, but it was back in the 90s when all that was set up. And it was a quarter penny from every so many dollars, I don't know. Okay, so this would be to upgrade the server. The money's $58,985. And it's coming from cable funds. The fund already exists.
I move.
Angelo moves.
I'll
Second.
Okay, Tom.
Discussion.
Just, Jamie, is this it replacing tired equipment? Is that what it is?
Yeah, the last time any of that equipment has been replaced was 2016, so we're due. The average lifespan of computers like that are
Yep.
5 years.
So this is replacing, just so the audience, they don't hear you, right?
No, they do not.
Okay,
Oh,
so
sorry.
this replaces equipment from 2016, which in this industry is very old equipment. Further discussion?
Nope.
Hearing none, all those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Brian's an aye.
Yes.
And then we have fund the Griffin Room improvements, that's for this room here. And that is, has that got a new number as well? No, the same number. Okay, so that one's for 97,000. Again, proposed to come from the same source, there is an explanation there.
Cable fund?
Yep. So,
I vote we accept and adopt Article 20.
Second.
any discussion on that one?
All the town meetings are here, everything, all the committees, everything's here, and if the town can't see them, then why do we
Right.
have this?
And it's very important,
It is important.
especially this year.
Could-
And we don't know when this year's gonna end.
Just
John.
a quick question. Jamie, again, will this article include not only equipment, but furniture?
Yes, that
Okay.
was going in that.
Yeah, okay. I thought it did. I just want to make sure the audience knows that, too.
Okay.
Thank you.
So that will help.
Yes.
Can I just ask a question?
You may.
Are you going to fix it next year or the next couple of months to cover the time we have the virus? Or are you gonna say, no, forget that, we're gonna do it as if we don't have any of those problems?
The plan has changed significantly, but this room still needs to maintain this usage, so.
So the plan has changed significantly, but this room still needs the
This room
equipment.
will be reconfigured.
The room will be
Include
reconfigured.
This equipment, the sound equipment, projection equipment, and furniture.
Okay,
Okay. So it includes the sound, the projection, and the furniture.
so it's,
I just want to make sure that what Jamie says is on the record.
I'm anticipating at some point this room at least being back open, but probably not that small hearing room.
Okay, so it would be this room, but and none of this money is directed to the small hearing room.
That small hearing
Would
room.
any old equipment go over there?
I may hoard a computer in case one of the other ones fails.
Okay. So it's possible that some equipment may go over there to help cover those meetings. Further discussion, we have a accept and adopt cable funds, 97,000.
Just, I think,
John?
you answered it, Jamie, but I didn't hear the answer. Is it almost immediately that once you approve the town meeting, you would immediately buy the equipment and install it and stuff? Or,
I would start at the community center first.
Right.
I would start with Article 19 and then
but it's fairly quick process.
I would hope so.
Okay.
It has been in the past, but we don't know what is going to happen.
Okay, because
It's a different year.
some articles
It has
never
been a
seem to
quick
get done,
process
it
in the
seems, that we
past,
approve.
but we don't know what this year will bring.
Okay, thank you.
Further discussion? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed?
Aye.
Aye is, that's an aye, so 7-0. Next one, next two are golf articles to become from golf fund. And it's 7:37 at this point. We'll go on till 8 o'clock like this until we get through the whole warrant if we can. But we're making good progress, and I hope we can go a
Yeah,
little longer.
this is great.
But I won't want to keep people too.
So I believe that the golf director has removed these two articles from the warrant.
Okay,
Okay,
That's easy.
so I'll just put a note here. Supplemental to Round Cove Boat Ramp. You know anything about this one?
I know that the harbor master has new numbers for this, I just don't have them with me.
Okay, so we'll hold this one. Does that make sense?
Yes,
Yeah,
so we got real good numbers.
Yep, so I'll put an H. Then we have the three adoptions for Mass General Law. And the first one is to allow for hardships for people under the age of 60. It's new legislation that's passed, and we need to allow it here if we want to give people up to $1,000 of property tax exemptions for taxpayers under the age of 60 for hardships.
well, $1,000 exemption,
Yeah, up to $1,000.
up to 1,000.
For people who have a problem and can't pay their bill, but we have the exemption now. It exists for people over 60.
Right.
The legislature added under 60. If we want to allow under 60, we have to adopt it as a town as well.
Okay.
I know I've read it and I'm going to support it, but is there a motion?
yes, I'll move that.
Brian?
Yes,
Second.
I'll second.
Second from Dan. Discussion. Questions? John?
And I'm assuming that the Board of Assessors will make the same determination like they do for the other exemption
Yes,
clauses.
yes.
And Yeah, I've got no problem. And it's not a problem at all, but if we give folks $1,000 exemption, that $1,000 exemption has to be made up by other folks to cover the property taxes, so. While there may be no direct costs, there are costs associated with somewhere down the line.
Is that what the 30,000, does that go into
So it's just-
overlay? No.
Would come out of
Yeah,
the-
so it's like
Yeah.
we would have to continue to raise the overlay, to raise those funds to support the exemptions, the additional exemptions. So the estimate is that there may be 30 on an annual basis?
Yeah. No, I support it. I will support it. It's just that I don't like to see no charge down there, because there is a charge.
There's a cost. right?
There is a cost associated to the
Losing
taxpayers.
$30,000 in revenue.
It's gonna be made up by other
If it goes in the
taxpayers.
overlay, we're losing $60,000 worth of revenue.
Right.
Right, so, okay, that's the only thing I just wanted to, I
That's a
don't like to
two
see
for- that's
no
a
charge there.
Two for
That's-
one pot of money.
Yeah, so, okay,
I never let that one go by. Any other discussion? All those in favor, say aye.
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 Opposed? There are no opposed, it passes 7-0. The next one is the tax deferral portion of the laws, 59, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 41A. See if the town will vote to lower interest rates from 8% yearly interest rate to 5% over. Estimated cost, $500. This is to help our senior citizens.
I move that.
Oh, I'm with you. I'll second that.
Me too.
Does everyone have to recuse themselves?
Yeah,
I think we have to
really.
emergency vote this one because we're all getting older every day. So that was Angelo and then Tom. Discussion, anything else? Questions, problems?
No.
All those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed? It is a unanimous vote. 7-0. And then the last one, and again, my original one that I sent to you, out to you, had the, something else that's number 26. About the Board of Selectmen to Select Board, that's not correct. 26 is to adopt Massachusetts General Law, Chapter 59, Section 5, Clause 56, assumption of local taxes, property exemptions. See if the town would accept this section. The Board of Assessors may grant real personal property tax abatements up to 100% of the assessment to members of the Massachusetts National Guard and reservists on active duty in foreign countries. Seems like the proper thing to do.
Mm-hmm.
Is there a motion?
Oh, I make that motion.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
All right. Discussion, pretty straightforward.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It has an estimated cost of $10,000.
Cheap at the price.
The potential cost is much higher, yes. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? It's 7-0 on that one. Okay, 27 is the annual one. We don't have the actual number yet, of the money that goes into each bucket, or do we? This is the CPC, there's four buckets,
Yep.
and the money goes into each bucket. There's a certain amount of money that gets put there every year. Once we have that number, we can vote this, but I don't think it's a good idea to vote it before we have the number. Do we have a number?
I think you need to let me check it, just
Okay.
because we want to make sure the state revenue hasn't changed either.
And then there's a whole series of articles. I did have a discussion with the chairman of that committee, and he asked me not to vote these tonight. He asked me to hold them, and I'm gonna see if he'll grant that wish, and some newer information for us to come later. So if that's okay, we can hold these?
Yep,
Is that all right?
sounds
Yeah.
good.
Good, I think.
So, those are all holds. And that's to Article 36. There are Article 36 and 37, and we're almost done, folks.
Yeah, this is good.
Article 36 and 37 are two articles that we discussed at the subcommittee level. One would expand some revolving funds to different groups, the community center, wetlands, and cemetery. And the other is the authorization, this 37, for the, all of the funds. A lot more that's gonna happen with those two.
Yep.
But the Board of Selectmen would have to set new policy on those two. I think they're gonna get on it fairly quickly. I think we're gonna discuss it at our next subcommittee meeting. But the general consensus of the subcommittee was that we don't like the idea of it covering salaries. We think some of the authorizations are too high, and we think in general there are too many revolving funds. What we're going to do with that this year, come to any conclusions on, but we're certainly going to discuss it and ask them for direction on it. But that was our give to them. Steve is going to take that back to the full board and discuss it with them for some more, but there'll be more to follow on that one. And I think it will be in the direction of fewer and narrowing of the scope of the use, but that's to be determined. So I'll ask to hold those two. Angelo?
I think you're right in what you said, but I think
Good.
people have to understand that the groups that raise all funds to cover their own costs should be able to do this.
Right, and that was,
Be golf, it'll be,
right,
what else? Golf,
waterways.
waterways, water department.
Again, there'll be discussions and more to follow on that one. We do have some, so all agree we can hold those?
Yes.
Yep.
Yep,
Consensus, yep. Article 38, fund prior year unpaid bills. Apparently, we have some. We have a Monomoy school bill of $2,500. And what else do we have? We have Eastwood Companies, Sacotucket Harbor bill for $942.87. We have a, pronounce this wrong, a TIGHE, Titan Bond, two different bills from them, one for $1,500, one for $2,250. We have a WB Mason bill from the Selectmen's Office Supplies, $35.79. And we have Motorola Solutions for the Police Department, $367.17. And the sources for those are different sources. One would be from general funds of recreation, one would be from harbor master funds, the next two would be under water rates, and the last two, $35.79 and $367.17, would be free cash. The total is $7,595.83. It's one of the very few motions you'd make with cents in it.
Well, it has a lot of sense to it, so I'll make the motion we accept and adopt.
I'll second.
Discussion on unpaid bills. These are bills that just missed all of the last windows, and we have to pay them. Usually they're stuck in somebody's drawer somewhere or something happens or whatever, but. All those in favor of the motion say aye. Aye. Opposed? It is 7-0. Then we have the petition articles, 2, 4, 6. There are 6 petition articles. And here's my proposal. We have 3 that have been the same
Yep.
for decades. And I'm proposing that we vote those at the rates that they were. There's one that's gone up. I'm gonna ask them about that, but there's no reason why we couldn't support that and then lower it if we don't like their explanation. But my proposal is that I talk to those three over the phone, the petitioners, because we should talk to them. I will talk to I have the contact information for each one of these. I will talk to those three over the phone and see if there's anything they want to do after we take our votes. To come see us, they'd certainly be welcome to come see us. We could hear them, change our mind, do whatever. But unless I miss my guess, we're going to support them. Maybe I'm wrong. Maybe we'll need to call them in a hurry. But we've heard their presentation many times. If you've watched any of the selectmen meetings and seen the weekly updates from the Chamber of Commerce, they're working hand in hand with everything that the town is doing right now with the business community and COVID and all that. If there's a year where they've earned their money, this is certainly one of them. We've had a strong relationship with them for years. The library is the same library article we've had for decades. And then the Mass Cultural Center article. So I would ask to vote those. Now, the other three are brand new this year. One is to rescind the article that we voted on plastic water bottles. One is to increase the scope of plastic water bottles in terms of not having them in town. And then the third one is a new climate policy bylaw. Those people deserve to be heard. I will invite each one of them into a very near future meeting and discuss with them their articles. But I don't see that as a necessity on the first three that I mentioned. Anybody have other feelings or want to proceed or want to?
Article 45.
Well, no, do you want to vote, the three, do you want to vote, 39 is defray the. You should probably leave the room.
Don't vote, don't say anything.
Just, I mean,
I asked for
Yeah.
your
yeah,
guidance.
yeah, no, that's good.
I think it's a good idea.
Yeah, just, it works. It's a system that works. So Dan is out of the room. Anybody else? Should we proceed with them?
Yes,
Okay, so what do we got?
I'd like to make a motion that we approve the defray the expenses of the Chase and Harwich Port Library of $20,000 to be funded out of free cash.
Second.
Discussion. All those in favor say aye.
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 Okay, so 6-0. We have the Chamber of Commerce promote the town of Harwich, $30,000.
I so move.
We have, we'll have 7 in the room for this one, unless somebody has to leave for anything else.
Well, if Mark moves it, I'll second it.
2 thumbs up on that one. Mark has made a motion and Tom has seconded. And the motion was for $30,000 out of free cash to support the chamber, right?
They're doing a good job.
They are.
Further discussion on that? All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? There's a vote, 7-0. And then 41, 42, and 43, I'll ask that we hold those unless someone wants to make a motion. Just so that we can hear from them. I will contact them. They may be able to tell me enough over the phone to proceed with or without them. But if they certainly want to come before us, that would be allowed too. The Mass Cultural Center, that one has changed from last year. It was $3,600 last year, and the year before that. And it's been $3,500 or $3,600 for a couple of decades. It's $3,900 this year. I will ask them when they come why they went up, but really, at this point, don't see a problem in not voting it.
Make a motion to accept and adopt Article 44.
Is there a second?
Second?
I'm gonna put John, he said it first. Discussion on that. Again, we'll have I'll ask them over the phone if they've got anything to add to that and update the board later, but I'm not anticipating a problem here. And that's from free cash, correct?
Yes.
All those in favor say aye. Aye.
No.
7-0. Opposed? No opposed. The last one is the herring fisheries.
Well, I'll make that motion, except for the draft Article
You
45.
gotta beat Mark to it, though.
That means you're done when you get that one.
He lives for the fisheries.
It doesn't cost anything.
5 minutes. It's amazing.
I've already started preparing my speech on this one, so. I've generally had a speech every year.
No speech.
Discussion on the herring fishery. I remember one year the Finance Committee voted against this because it really doesn't make a difference if you voted for it or against it. But they did one year, and it was quite funny. The selectmen had to make the motion, and it was a good discussion. But all those in favor say aye. Aye. Opposed?
Aye.
You're opposed? No, you're in favor of. Right, Brian? Favor of?
Yeah. No, I'm good.
Okay.
Good.
Good.
Okay, so good work tonight.
Very good.
That was very impressive. We can be really happy with that result. Now I have to find my agenda to find out where we are.
Old business.
Old business. I'm pretty sure I sent it to everybody. I just want to double check. I sent out the article that has to do with use of the stabilization fund. I mean, to me, the most important part of that is how we explain it. And I tried to put together an explanation that showed why things might be down in 2020 and why we may need it in 2021. I think I went through the history of where we were. The selectmen are gonna discuss that one, whether or not they decide to adopt it as is, or throw it out the window, or do whatever with it. We'll wait to see. Again, on what we voted, some of these might come out. Others will bring people in as needed, and we'll make decisions. I'll talk to John about what happened on the ones where I was out, whether you need anybody to come in, but
Okay.
you supported them, so I guess
Yeah.
that's where we are with those. Anything else anybody wants to bring up under old business?
It's not so much old business, and I don't know if Carol, if you can answer it, but one of the big warrant articles that was pulled, I guess, is the wastewater. Has that been pulled for $8 million?
I don't believe that they were gonna move forward with
Yeah.
that.
Okay. I just-
That was the joint, for the
Yeah.
joint,
Yeah.
support the joint.
Because it's deferred.
Out,
Yeah. And I was just curious of how that impacts us with everything, but that's for a later discussion. Thank you.
Really good work tonight. I'm really happy with
Yes, good
where we
job.
are.
Good
I
job.
think that helps us a lot, coming down the road. We still, I'll get a count, but I'd still say we have half the warrant left to go, but, very good. Anything else? Motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Moved and second, we adjourn.